Hello everyone. Thanks for joining us on another informative edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Twyla Whelan. We have a lot in store, starting with the news of the day. Good day, I'm Twyla Whelan, and this is your JS News for Monday, July 8, 2024. A rapid response team has been mobilized to assist persons in need who are not in shelters following last week's passage of Hurricane Beryl. Prime Minister Andrew Holness gave the assurance to residents of South Clarendon during a tour on Saturday, indicating that the assessment shows that the needs are great.
So the instant help with tarpaulins, with water supply, small packets, care packets that would have water and food. And we do have a plan to return potable water through the pipes, so that we hope to have effected within a few days.
Mr. Holness says the damage observed in southeast Clarendon is more severe than other areas due to the fact that the area is below sea level and water runoff from drains were impacted by floodwaters. He says the recovery process will take on a medium-term approach due to the likelihood of impacts from other weather systems.
So there are some things that we're going to do, particularly as it relates to the reconstruction of roofs, right? So it's not going to be good enough to just tack on back some zincs onto the roofing. We're going to have to figure out ways to ensure that those roofs that we do, that they are properly done.
Meanwhile, the agriculture sector is reportedly facing over $1 billion in damage following Hurricane Beryl. Portfolio Minister Floyd Green revealed the figure on Saturday as he toured farmlands in St. Elizabeth, which suffered 70% crop losses. Farmers in Clarendon and Manchester also faced severe impact to their productions.
We've seen damages to all crop lines. In fact, we have seen about 85% of our banana and plantain lines go down, and that is in Portland, St. Mary. But when you come to the south, our vegetable lines, everything, our tubers, cassava, we've seen a lot of damages to fruit trees, ackee breadfruit, and unfortunately, significant damages to our greenhouse farmers.
The livestock sector also faces significant losses, with poultry farmers being the hardest hit, losing both birds and houses. In the fisheries sector, while boat damage was minimal, assets on fishing beaches such as sheds did not fare as well. The ministry is currently developing a response program to address the damage.
We do understand that it needs a quick response in this time, and we know our farmers are out there, and thankfully they are resilient, so they are ready to get back out there and to get back farming. So we at the ministry will be willing to assist them.
A number of international partners have offered to assist Jamaica with its post-Beryl recovery efforts. Minister of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport Darrell Vaz says the support is from both within and outside the region.
I've already received calls from CARICOM and from other international partners who are ready and waiting. So we will be putting in place and getting all the information that is required.
On Friday, UN Resident Coordinator for Jamaica, Dennis Zulu, announced that the island would benefit from $2.5 million in support through the United Nations Central Emergency Response Fund, CERF. CERF is a financing arrangement that facilitates the quick release of funds. Mr. Zulu says the intervention will include income support for persons whose livelihoods were affected by the hurricane.
So we're really looking towards supporting them in terms of some cash transfers. Definitely shelter is one thing we're looking at, as I've alluded to, because some of the buildings and housing has been destroyed. Ensuring the provision of clean drinking water is important at this stage. Make sure that we don't have an outbreak of disease, but also looking at the potential for support in terms of and getting access to communication data and really supporting government to get its systems back in place as quickly as possible.
The UN Resident Coordinator for Jamaica commended the government's coordination of mitigation measures leading up to the hurricane. Government's Youth Summer Employment Program YSEP is set to commence this week. Minister of Local Government and Community Development Desmond McKenzie says this year greater emphasis will be placed on the homeless population and technology is to play an important role in the program.
And right across the country, participants who will be assigned to the Poor Relief Department, will undertake a survey of the size of our homeless population. We're going to be training you to use certain systems that we have in the Ministry of Local Government to identify the expanding road networks across the country. Every aspect of local government will be covered this year under the program.
During the recent launch of the program, Prime Minister Andrew Holness urged the participants to embrace a strong work ethic as they embark on their summer employment.
Whatever you are tasked to do it to the best of your ability. Do it well. And that will become the stepping stone for you to achieve the things that you actually want to do in life.
And finally, Culture Minister Olivia Grange says this year's Independence theme reflects Jamaica's love and commitment to sharing its rich, vibrant culture and heritage with the world. The 2024 Independence celebrations will unfold from July 31 to August 6 under the theme Jamaica 62, One Love to the World.
We have made an effort to kickstart activities early, rekindling and amplifying the festivities. We have been actively promoting the Jamaica Festival song to build momentum and garner public support. We're also reintroducing the festival song roadshows as we take the shows across the island.
She says all the festival songs will be available on over 30 digital streaming platforms.
These songs were selected by a panel of individuals from the industry and from academia. It all will come to a crescendo on Independence Day, August 6, with the Grand Gala featuring performances, cultural displays, spectacular fireworks, and of course, the now immensely popular drone display.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Twyla Whelan. Thanks for watching.
Mosquitoes will breed in containers that hold water. Tightly cover water storage containers such as drums, buckets and tanks, or cover the water surface with cooking oil. Punch holes in all tins, plastic containers and boxes to prevent the collection of water before disposal. Cover old tires or fill with dirt. Scrub all vases once per week to remove mosquito eggs and dispose of garbage by placing in plastic bags. Do your part to prevent mosquito breeding. A message from the Ministry of Health.
The recent passage of Hurricane Beryl has brought the issue of safe drinking water back into focus. What we're about to show you is how our authorities ensure the water running in your pipes is safe for all uses.
The human body cannot function without water. While you may live for up to 3 weeks without food, you cannot go more than a week without water. From breaking down the food we eat so the body can use it, to helping us heal when we get sick, water is needed for almost every process that takes place in the body. And although 70% of the Earth's surface is covered with water, drinking it directly from seas, rivers, wells or aqueducts may make you sick. Untreated water contains bacteria and other germs, as well as chemicals that may be dangerous to the body. So in order to get the water from here to here safely, it has to be treated. Water treatment processes differ depending on the source. If the water is coming from a river, for example here at the Negro River in St. Thomas, it usually goes through an extensive treatment process before reaching the pipe.
Here is where we do the first type of treatment in the form of sedimentation and screening. Behind me you can see where we screen the bigger stuff like the sticks, the stones and debris. Then we come down to the sediment where we separate the sand from the stones. And then this water will leave from St. Thomas and pipe into Kingston via pipeline into the Mona Reservoir.
The Mona Reservoir is the island's largest raw water storage facility and provides the liquid to over 30% of people living in Kingston and St. Andrew. If this is where you get your water, Here is where the next step in the treatment process occurs.
Here in the reservoir, we allow for maximum levels of mixing, maximum levels of aeration, as can be done here at the facility. We also, at the reservoir, you allow for settling out of the silt and the suspended particles, dirt particles, that would otherwise be in the raw water. We then take the water from the reservoir and take it to the Mona treatment plant.
At the treatment plant, chemicals are added to further purify the water. Chlorine is first added to kill bacteria.
You have stages that include flocculation, where we actually add chemicals to the water that allow those microscopic dirt particles that are still in the water to be brought together in what we call flocks, and then we are able to skim it off and remove it from the water.
The water is then passed through filters which contain layers of sand, gravel, charcoal or synthetic materials that remove remaining small particles. The final stage is disinfection. Here, chlorine is added to kill any other bacteria or germ.
Ensuring that we have what we refer to as chlorine residual that goes with the water, so that as the water travels along the pipeline to our customers, should it come in contact with any germs along the way, there is enough chlorine residual in that water to destroy those germs and still be delivered to the customer in good quality.
The water is tested all throughout the treatment process to ensure that what you get in your pipe meets World Health Organization standards.
For several years running, the National Water Commission has won the best tasting water in the Caribbean. We have also been acknowledged by the various arms of the United Nations at different points in time as having one of the best quality water in the hemisphere.
That is definitely something we can drink to.
Our health is our responsibility, and considering none of us want to end up sick and hospitalized, it is crucial that we take precautions to stay healthy. A big part of this involves ensuring whatever we consume is safe. So, in our next feature, we're giving you some useful tips to prevent foodborne illnesses.
Dangerous strains of bacteria such as E. coli and Salmonella can cause serious health problems when the food we eat become contaminated through improper handling and not being properly cooked. In light of the dangers, there are some important precautionary measures we must observe to protect our health.
We have to make sure we know where we're purchasing our food. If it's straight from the farms, if it's from the market, it's from the supermarket, it's from the meat shop. Ensure that it is clean. When you are preparing the food, ensure that you have a separate cutting board for meats, separate cutting board for vegetables, and you're constantly washing your hands. If you're going to eat out, ensure that the environment in which you're going to take your family is one where you can trust that the food is being prepared in a clean environment. We love our street food, and we encourage, as Consumer Protection Agency, we encourage that economic activity. But we're saying you're to take precautions as well. Ensure that your street food are from reputable persons that you know you can trust.
Check the expiry date on food products before purchasing and check them again before cooking.
In food preparation as well, the education is to ensure that you separate the raw from the cooked. You know, the raw and the cooked is a totally different environment. So when you mix the two, that's when you have contamination. That's when you have food poisoning. That's when you have a member of the family who might end up in the hospital because they're either very young or they're elderly or their immune system has been compromised.
Discard any food that looks or smells questionable. Don't allow your food to stay open and accessible to flies. Containerize and refrigerate or freeze leftover food before 2 hours after cooking. And always store meats and seafood in sealed containers.
The second thing about food safety is you have large amounts of food laid out for a couple of hours or more, and the family keeps coming back, dipping, visitors coming, dipping. You have to ensure if you have the food out for more than 2 hours, hot food, be very careful, especially if you add sauces and other condiments on the food. It tends to go a little off early, and that is where you have problems if you have an elderly person or a young child. Make sure that you put that away early, that you don't put your family at risk, because food poisoning, most of us get well quickly, but it can lead to death if your immune system has been compromised. So we're saying be safe with your food. Ensure that when you package them and put them away, they're packaged in portions where when you take them out to reheat, you don't reheat the entire thing and then put it back in the refrigerator. So you apportion it according to what you're going to be using, so you don't increase the risk of food poisoning or any other bacteria entering the food.
Ensure meats are cooked thoroughly. Remember, improper food handling can mean the difference between a trip to the emergency room or enjoying a tasty meal.
Are you looking to further your educational development and thinking about how you can get a scholarship to help? We'll now link you with the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service that facilitates scholarships yearly that you may want to consider. So, keep watching.
Every year, the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service facilitates scholarships and grants targeting eligible Jamaicans who are looking to advance their studies. Some of the scholarships facilitated yearly allow for students to study both locally and internationally at leading universities. There are also grants for public sector workers and their children. But what do you need to know about scholarships? Hi, I'm Shaquille Rochester Shorter, and welcome to Finance Matters. Joining us to share the details is the Director of the Talent and Knowledge Management Portfolio at the MOFPS, Mrs. Colette Cummings McCausland. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow the Ministry of Finance on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and now TikTok to see all the episodes and highlights. Mrs. McCausland, thank you for being on our program today.
Thank you for having me, Shaquille.
All right, so I want you to tell us about some of the scholarships facilitated by the ministry.
All right, so our scholarship offers are facilitated through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade.
Okay.
We do have bilateral partners such as Serbia, Russia, China, and Cuba, as well as multilateral partners such as the OAS, Organization of American States, UK Commonwealth, New Zealand Commonwealth. Our local scholarship offers are the Marcus Garvey Graduate Public Sector Scholarship, targeted to individuals within the public sector, as well as our new initiative, the Micro STEM Scholarship for teachers to be trained in the areas of STEM, as well as the UTech STEM Scholarship for young professionals to be trained in the area of STEM.
I hear you talking about scholarships, the STEM Scholarship, the Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Scholarship. but a lot of times people are deterred by the bonding that they have to sign. What is bonding?
All right, so bonding it's of an archaic term. It's really just a service level agreement, promising that after you've studied, after the government has invested in you through our bilateral partners and you have studied overseas or locally, that you will just work in Jamaica for a minimum of 2 years to a maximum of 5 years.
Who does bonding apply to?
It applies to every citizen who gets the benefit from the government of Jamaica or through its donor agencies from 300,000 up, then you are required to sign a bond agreement.
Okay. What are some recommendations for people studying abroad? You know of people going abroad to study. What do you have to say to them?
Do your research. First and foremost, know where it is that you're going to, know the culture that you're going into.
Definitely.
Because Jamaicans are loved and we like to explore. So do your research. That's the main advice that I can give to them. Be aware of the area that you're going into as well, because there's a lot of geopolitical tension happening across the globe. So be aware, and then you have to make that decision. You know, what is it if something should happen? How will you be able to leave quickly? You know, once you get overseas, we also encourage all our scholarships or students, recipients, right, to register with the embassy or the consulates in that country to say that I'm here studying, I'm expected to be here for a number of years, so that we'll have information on our citizens while they're overseas.
And that is definitely for their safety, Mrs. McCausland. Parents are oftentimes worried about their children going off. I know you're talking to the students that do your research, but what do you have to tell parents that are worried that, hey, my one daughter is leaving to go overseas and I can't stop worrying? What do you have to say?
Be prepared. Speak with your child. Know what it is that they're getting into. Look at what the scholarship is offering. Some of our scholarships are full scholarships, while others are partial scholarships. So therefore, is it that you will have to find some assistance or funding while the student is there? So we suggest that you just have the conversation with them. Also have a conversation with us to find out what it is that the GOJ will offer in terms of stipend or warm clothing or tuition, what it is that the government of Jamaica offers for that particular scholarship offer. Look at what the bilateral donor is also offering for that scholarship, because you can get free education, but then what is the wherewithal of it? How is it that I'm going to manage in that particular culture? If I go to China, how do I manage, you know, what the infrastructure is like in China, which is totally different from Jamaica. Russia is forever cold, so you have to be prepared. Also be available to them. Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, video calls, just be present for them, because they do need it. It's a new environment for them. It's a new feeling for you as a parent. And you know, you get jittery. It's our loved ones. But as long as we prepare ourselves by being a part of the process, knowing what the process entails, and keeping in tune with our students while they're overseas, they'll be fine.
Definitely agree with you, Mrs. McCausland. But you mentioned earlier that the scholarships are oftentimes for government workers. What are some of the other eligible criteria that they must meet to be able to get a scholarship?
All right, so outside of being a government employee, you must be a citizen of Jamaica for any scholarship that we offer. You must have the criteria as set out by the donor entity. So most of the donor entities, if it is for undergraduate, they'll ask you to have your CSEC or your CAPE studies. So for example, the Cuba bilateral that is currently open, we have 21 scholarship offers now out for Cuba, most of them being in the areas of medicine. So we have for nursing and we have for general medicine. We have at the postgraduate level. For those at the undergraduate level, you must have at least 2 CAPE subjects in the sciences. So physics and bio or chemistry, a mix. So it's dependent on what the donor entity asks for. But the main factor is you must be a Jamaican, and most times you must be willing to return to the country to develop the country.
That's definitely a big one there, Mrs. McCausland. So before we go, quickly, tell us where we can go to apply for a scholarship.
always at the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service website, any one of our social media handles. Most of our scholarship applications are done online. It is tweeted, it is on Facebook, it's on Instagram. I hear we're on TikTok now.
Yes,
but
we are.
Definitely on the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service website at www.mof.gov.jm.
Well, on that note, Mrs. McCausland, thank you for being on our program today.
Thank you so much, Shaquille. It was a pleasure.
And thank you for joining us on this episode of Finance Matters. Remember to follow us on social media at MOF Jamaica and tune in next week as we continue to demystify the economic and fiscal policies and initiatives implemented by the government to empower Jamaicans as we chart a path to Jamaica's economic prosperity.
Our pensioners are our society's backbone, and we want to make sure they are cared for. That is why the annual pension exemption and age relief exemption has been increased to $250,000 each. You have worked hard for your country, and we want you to have a little more peace of mind in retirement. Your government is caring for you.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Children are the future, and ensuring our future is healthy requires that children are always provided with nutritious foods to grow well and live long. Unhealthy diets high in sugar, salt, and fat consumed by children may make them obese and prone to non-communicable diseases later in life. Healthy foods and beverages not only help them learn better, but also protects them from non-communicable diseases such as some cancers, diabetes, hypertension, and cardiovascular diseases in their childhood and adult life. So, whether it's at home, in the lunch bag, or at school, let's make healthy foods and beverages for our children the only rule.
Our half-hour journey through the pages of Jamaica Magazine ends right here for today. But please join us again tomorrow on this station for more news, features, and information you can use. In the meantime, visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for this and other offerings. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Twyla Whelan. Till such time, take care and stay safe.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.